All right, welcome back to Fast Gadgets. Today we have an unboxing. I have a package here that I purchased for my wife off of eBay. I got a price that, quite frankly, I just couldn't pass up. Um, for this particular computer, and I'm very excited. This is going to be a replacement for my wife's iMac, which functions pretty well considering all the things that I've done with it and she's done with it. But a couple of things that she couldn't do very well on the iMac was one, um, playing YouTube videos or any type of high resolution video, and browsing was fine, but it was just a little bit slow, getting a little bit long in the tooth now. So I found this on eBay. I'd just been looking around. I wasn't really planning on purchasing anything. And I saw this iMac, and the vendor wanted $150 for it, plus $50 shipping. And this unit is a Core 2 Duo 2.6 gigahertz, I believe. I can't believe I've forgotten already. But it's got 2 gigabytes of RAM in it, and in the future, of course, I'll upgrade it to 4 gigabytes. But for right now, I think it's going to do everything that I need it to do and everything that she wants it to do. Um, this was one of those make an offer deals, so I made an offer to the vendor and I proposed 80 bucks. I really didn't think he was going to go for it. The system's in basically perfect shape, but the vendor said yes. And so it was 80 bucks plus shipping, so $130 out the door for the system. And I was extremely pleased with that. And the vendor did package it very well, as we can see. I was concerned about getting this shipped. It came from California, um, and the vendor said there was a couple of scratches on it, but that was it. And there was no damage whatsoever in shipping. I was extremely elated when this showed up. So if we can just get the rest of this packaging off, we'll have a look at it. I know many people would say that, older computers aren't really worth it anymore, but I think about the new MacBook, um, and the fact that it's got the Intel Core M processor, well, Intel M processor, and really it's not much better off than this one. This one's a dual core, um, more than fast enough for modern day web browsing. It's capable of running El Capitan. It has a USB 2.0 bus on it. It's got 3 USB 2.0 ports on the back. Um, Power supply is built in, so you only need a standard power cord for it. The front of it looks great. I don't see really any but maybe one tiny scratch. All right, so we're back from the gratuitous eye candy looking at the new iMac system. And I've actually set it up in the office, in our bedroom where she has her desk. And I started the installation of El Capitan. I had created a bootable thumb drive um, the other day, so I had it all prepared for when this computer arrived. And overall, it's gone pretty quickly. There was a bit of confusion when I was booting from the thumb drive. Everybody had said to hold down the Option key, but oddly enough, I held down the Option key and I never got a menu. So there was no OS installed on it, so I had to do a clean install of the OS. I let off the Option key, and oddly enough, I unplugged the USB key and plugged it back in, and immediately um, the installer for El Capitan came up. So I don't know what that was all about, but I'm not sure if I needed to hold down the Option key or not, because I really wasn't selecting which operating system I wanted to boot from. I already knew which one I wanted to boot from, and there was no current operating system on the computer. So um, I guess in hindsight, I learned something. So next time I have a new Mac computer, I won't try to hold down the Option key, and I'll just see if it boots directly from the thumb drive. So after a little while, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes, it said it was copying. I finally got this screen to come up, and it's asking me which language I want to do my installation in. And of course, I want to use English. Now, I know many people at this point go into utilities and actually use the disk utility to format the drive, but since this is an unformatted drive, I'm assuming if I just do install OS X or OS 10, that it'll actually go through and do the installation, and that would include the formatting of the drive. What's the worst that could happen, right? So I'm going to click continue, agree to the legalese since you don't really have much of a choice, and then agree again. I love how you have to click twice. Don't worry, I looked through the legalese before. It's not my first install of El Capitan, and honestly, I think it's important for everybody to read through the legalese. Here's my helper Meadow hanging out under my desk. Always got my helpers nearby. She's a good dog. Okay, so I need to select the install location, which I'm just going to throw it on the only drive aside from the thumb drive that's available, which makes it easy. The system came with a 250 gigabyte hard drive, so plenty of extra storage available. I think what we're going to do later, I'm going to pull out my MacBook Pro 2008, which is also a Core 2 Duo with the same frequency CPU as this, and it has an SSD in it. And we'll do some power on benchmarking, boot up benchmarking, and see just how well this system does booting up, which has a traditional hard drive compared to the MacBook Pro 2008, which has the SSD in it and also has the 6 gigabytes of RAM in it. I am curious to see what kind of difference there will be. It'll help me make an informed decision on whether or not I want to install an SSD in this particular system. I've watched some how-to videos, and I'm really not happy with how difficult it is to get to the point where you put in the hard drive. Apple did a good job on this particular system for changing out the memory, but I wasn't overly impressed with the hard drive part of it, to get to the hard drive. It's too bad they didn't make it a slot of some sort, or a removable panel on the back. I'm not really sure why companies make things as difficult as they do for us to do hardware upgrades. I'm beginning to get the impression that the answer to that is just don't let users do hardware upgrades. In the name of speed and thinness and sleek design, let's solder the memory onto the board, solder the the hard drive SSD chips onto the board. I know that's coming. Um, if you think about an mSATA SSD versus one that's on the PCI Express bus, or even better, why don't we put the SSD chips right on the board itself, right on the logic board, and solder them in? So it's entirely possible that we could see in the very near future everything soldered on the logic board, no upgradable components. The way you upgrade is get rid of it and get a new one. We're pretty close to that as it is, to be honest. So at this point, it says there's a second remaining. And it sits here for quite a while. So looks like Mac OSs aren't much different than Windows OSs in the sense that, that timer about when the install will be completed is more of an estimate than anything else. You really can't rely on it to tell you accurately when the install is going to be done. You just have to play it by ear and hope for the best. Now we have about a second remaining. I suppose I should be excited at this point. About 0 seconds remaining. That's even better. Luckily, I have a coffee here with me, so I just relax, chill, take a sip of my coffee, let the installer do its job. Unless something blows up, I'm not too awful concerned. I think also I'll get iMovie installed on here and see how well it runs. I do use iMovie on my MacBook Pro 2008, and I like it. The downside is, if I put a 20-minute video that's been edited in iMovie and set it to be rendered or exported, as they say in iMovie, it could take as much as 2 hours depending on how complex and what quality level I'm trying to do. I try to do a high quality level, not highest quality level. So we are doing our first boot now. I won't bother doing any timing right this minute, any benchmarking, because that first boot, of course, the system's always busy finishing up what it's doing. I do apologize for the poor quality video. You may see some the screen kind of shimmering there, so I do apologize for that. Yeah, it's moved just a tiny bit on the bar, and it's just sitting there. When I did the El Capitan update on my MacBook Pro 2008, it did take, and that was on the traditional hard drive. It took probably, I want to say, an hour at least, if not a little bit more, maybe an hour and a half. Certainly not the end of the world. I have other systems I can work on anyway, so not something I worry too awful much about. All right, well, it took a while to get here, but finally the system's installed. So I'm going to select US for my keyboard and I'm going to log into my Wi-Fi. I'm really surprised to see that it's showing my 5 gigahertz network instead of my 2.4 gigahertz. So that's pretty cool. It surprises me on a system this old, but that's awesome. I'm going to go ahead and get the system connected here. The iMac did not have built-in Wi-Fi, so this is going to help a lot because I need that data cable anyway for my main Windows computer, which I'm going to feature in another video later on. I'll put in my Apple ID later. There is some software that I do want to install on the system, but not a big issue right now. And once again, you have to agree to the terms and conditions. No surprise there. And I need to create a computer account. So, very important to ask the wife what she wants to call the computer account. And she has a pretty funny name. Just in case you can't read it on the system, it's Maximus Prime, which I got a big kick out of. And it makes the account name Maximus Prime. So yeah, the install did go a little bit longer, but it really, I'm fairly impressed. I mean, yeah, it probably took an hour, hour and a half, but I think that's acceptable on a system that, came out in 2008. So I have another video coming out, or I may have already released it, where I talk about CPU support in Linux and how the older 32-bit CPUs are not going to be supported in Linux. And I hate seeing the support for older systems go away. And in my opinion, it marks the threshold between a usable computer that you can still do things with and a vintage computer that you can no longer, I mean, you could still use it, but the OS that it's on is aging, and therefore it's kind of stuck in time. So to me, it's a vintage computer that you no longer can use for every production need like you could before. So, the video really doesn't do it justice, but this screen looks absolutely beautiful. Now, the keyboard, as far as I can tell, I can turn the sound up, but it doesn't have the hotkeys like the MacBook Pros do for the screen brightness. So we've got OS X El Capitan installed. On a Core 2 Duo, 8-year-old computer. And I've got the two 1 gigabyte DIMMs in there now, SODIMMs I should say. At some point I am going to go ahead and put in the two 2 gigabyte DIMMs. But the display is absolutely beautiful. The other thing I've noticed is that this system is extremely quiet. If you do hear a fan in the background, that's actually my MacBook Pro, which is hard at work rendering a video, so it's a little bit noisy. That is not the iMac itself. So considering how quiet the iMac is, I may start using the iMac to render videos, even though it'll take longer. Or I could use it to do uploads. I'm beginning to understand why so many users are saying, you really need a fast rendering machine, because as fast as you're editing videos, rendering them, and uploading them, you've got multiple systems doing multiple things. All right, looking good. So, as mentioned previously, we have the iMac Core 2 Duo 2.8 gigahertz, and it currently has 2 gigabytes of RAM. And I have a package here that I'm going to use to upgrade this system. For whatever reason, it was very difficult to find 6 gigabytes of RAM for a decent price. So I bought a 2 gigabyte chip, but I actually expected it to be two 2 gigabyte chips. So I'm going to have to check my order and make sure I got the right amount, because I'm pretty sure I was supposed to have 4 gigabytes. Two times 2 gigabytes. Alright, well, I'm going to open this up and just check and see if there's 2 stacked in here, one on top of the other. Possibly. Doesn't look like it though, does it? Let's see. Nope, only one. Now if it was a 4 gigabyte I wouldn't complain, but it is only a 2 gigabyte. So I'm going to have to check, because I really wanted to upgrade this to 4 gigabytes, and I only got the one piece. All right, well, given that I only got the one DIMM to put in, I'm still going to put it in, but I am disappointed that I only got the 2 gigabytes instead of the 4 gigabytes to put in. So I'll go ahead and get this in, and I'm sure I can get it rectified with Amazon. It's usually not a big deal. I'm going to say it was a simple mistake. I guess we'll find out. Alright, so it is a Phillips head. I'm going to try a slightly larger screwdriver. Yep, that did it. So it appears to be loose. Let's see if we can get it to come out. Ugh. So the screwdriver definitely got it loose. There we go. Alright. So let's see what we've got here. We're going to use a pad here to prop this up. Okay, so hopefully you can see in there, it has a small piece of plastic to help pull it out. So I'm going to grab one of these, and it did indeed pop it right out. And I'm going to open up the 2 gigabyte that I have, and it's the same size. It's Crucial RAM. Part number CT2566 4A C800, 200 pin DDR2 SODIMM. Alright, so this one came out this way. I'm going to do the same with this one, putting it in. And see if I can get it to go right in the slot. Yep, pretty easy. And a nice push to feel it firmly seat itself in there. And then I'm going to curl up the small plastic tab that helps me yank it out. Now it looks like this memory is slightly higher, which makes sense because it's got chips on both sides. So it was a little bit more tough getting room in there. Then I'm going to put the plate back on, tighten it up just enough, because I'll be back in there anyway. And I always hang on to these DIMMs that I take out. You just never know when you might need it for testing or some other function. So I try to take good care of them and keep them in the box that the other RAM came in. So I'm going to go ahead and move this back, and we'll power it up and see what happens. All right, we've got the extra 2 gigabytes in there, so let's power it up. And you know what? While I power it up, might as well do a time to see how long it takes to boot up. Okay, we're going to try this again. The power plug was unplugged. So 3, 2, 1, go. And we get our bong. And we have our timer going. Not sure if you can see that or not. We're at 18 seconds. $30 seconds. And this is with the traditional hard drive. $45 seconds. At some point I would like to upgrade this to an SSD, but right now money's a little tight, so I'm going to hold off. These systems do come out of sleep really fast, so probably will just have it set up so that it comes out of sleep. Alright, so looks like about 1 minute and 10 seconds to get to the logon screen. Hope I can remember the password. I guess we're going to find out, huh? And I'm going to clear the timer. 1 minute, 10 seconds, and go. Hopefully I've got the password right. I do. Okay, as soon as everything comes up, we'll consider it booted up. So it looks like after it gets booted up, basically comes up pretty quick. That's me pressing the F keys. I know that I can turn the volume up and down. I was wondering if I could adjust the brightness since we're outside. Let's find out. System preferences. Maybe displays. Okay, so there we go. That's about as bright as it'll go. But, you know, being outside, not really too bad. And I'm going to go into about this Mac. And we now have the 3 gigabytes of memory, but I do need to do a check into that because I should have gotten the 2 gigabytes. And I think I said it was a 2.8 gigahertz earlier. It's actually a 2.4 Core 2 Duo. I tell you, inside this display is lovely. 20 inches, 1680 by 1050. Very sharp, very readable display in excellent condition. It has looks like a DVD super drive in it. And I have not tested that yet. Not too worried if it doesn't work, but it would be definitely a nice bonus. I have 238 gigabytes free on the hard drive, currently 3 gigabytes of memory. There's some programs I need to install on here for my wife so that she can write. I'm going to see if I can get Office installed on here. I think when I do that, I'll take it back into the room where she's going to use it and get it all set up really nice for her so that it's ready to go. It's already on my Wi-Fi network. Let's launch an app. How about Safari? So about 10 seconds for it to come up. Not too shabby. And let's search for, oh, I don't know. How about some geek news? How rose gold became the new black for gadgets. Go figure. At least it is with Apple. I don't know about all the other vendors. I'm kind of hoping not. I mean, I shouldn't say that. I guess if somebody likes rose gold, cool. More power to you. As long as they have the other models, I'll be happy. So this machine is definitely a considerable upgrade to the iMac G4. Her big thing was when she tried to go to YouTube, it was a little bit slow, but now seems much better. At least in responsiveness. So my mouse is on this table that does not, it has slats, so there's spaces in between. Alright, let's play a video for a minute or two. Just see how it works, how well it does.
There she is.
Looking awesome, and in HD.
And I really hate you text.
I'm going to pause this before it goes too far. So we were running that in 1080p, so that seemed to be just fine.
All those helmet pics.
Oh, well, give me your email. I'll send you some of the high-res versions.
Dude,
Okay. I don't want to show too much of this. I don't want to get my video banned on YouTube. So overall, yes, it does seem to do really well. So it's got some updates. I think there's an update package. Yes, there is. One for the digital camera, a compatibility update, and an iTunes update. So I think I'll do that later when I move it back inside. Very happy with it. Seems to be working great. For the price I paid, no complaints. So I'm going to go ahead and shut this down. And we're going to move it back to the room it belongs in and set it all up. And she'll be good to go when she comes home.